world. Originally from Pembrokeshire, now from Cardiff, and I currently work in marketing. Sure. So currently on good form, stable form. So far, but as we know, it's something that can majorly fluctuate. I've just graduated, so I just finished university about a year ago. 2 years ago, you lose track, don't you? And that's really because I come from a very typical normal background. So I imagine a lot of people that talk about mental health, quite rightly so, they have some kind of stage in their upbringing which brought them to that moment, which brought them to those mental health situations. Call them a story, call them a sob story, whatever you want. But I don't have one, which is weird. We always had enough money, but not loads. We went on, a couple of holidays a year. We always ate well. I love talking about mental health because I feel like there are other men and women out there going, okay, so this guy's had, because I think there's people out there who have mental health problems and they go, well, I shouldn't do because my upbringing's fine. I've never had a problem, So that's why I like talking about it. So university was probably the biggest, pivotal moment in mental health. And I only really first, recognised mental health when I was a drum teacher at the age of about 17, 18. I taught drums, and it was then when I noticed when I was teaching these young teenagers how the lessons would soon turn into very unqualified, almost like counselling sessions, It'd be like 30-minute drumming and then 30 minutes talking about life and progression and stuff. Hopefully none of the parents are watching this because they're going to go, I want my money back. So that's when I recognised it, because these kids were talking about stuff that I don't feel like we would be talking about even in our 20s, So I realised that, and that was when I thought, wow, mental health's a thing. And then during university, moving out of Pembrokeshire, which is a very rural, beautiful, but it's very much a bubble. Anyone from there would agree it's a very bubble place. You don't know what happens outside of it. You know everything about what happens in it. Everyone knows everything about everyone. And so moving out of there was really daunting. And first year was a lot about trying to work out what kind of person I wanted to be. And I'm saying this like I'm special, and I know for a fact 99% of students do this. You have this chance to reinvent yourself, to be someone completely new. And I think for a lot of people, just like I found out, you just want to carry on being the person you were before you got there, And then it sort of reached a peak. I sort of experienced mental illness in my second year. I was lucky enough to get a job working for Google for about 7 months, and whilst I was at university, and it was really sort of the high life. I wore that with pride, and I think that's something particularly with men's mental health. We always want an excuse to puff our chests out, we want an excuse to sort of flaunt our stuff. And I think for me at that time, it was the Google thing. It was going to work with a Google over my back and going, look, I've got everything sorted. And having that like debonair or character almost of going, I've got everything worked out. Don't worry about me, I've got everything worked out. But you're questioning everything else. And when that came to an end, mental health just flawed. Absolutely flawed. I kept filling this void with stuff that I could be proud about. Oh, I've got this new thing, this new job, this new responsibility. I ended up just completely burning the candle at both ends, which I think any student knows about. Nothing unique. And that's when anxiety and depression were a thing. Luckily, I've got very supportive parents, so they said, look, you're not a freak, just, look, Google a counsellor and go see one. All right, okay, I'll do that. There's not enough, obviously, as we know, in the National Health Service to support that. I had to go private because reaching the really darker times, the moments where I would be going out on walks and I didn't really know why, I would be shutting myself off from people that I love and that love me. Those darker times, if I had access to private support, I don't know what would have happened. It could have got a lot worse, which is a real issue because I'm lucky enough to be able to have access to that, I saw a counsellor, and she was absolutely fantastic. She said very little, she asked very few questions, but just having that hour to say absolutely anything, and then she sort of pick up on these points and then set me sort of almost like mental homework for a week. was really good. And now I finished uni. I'm in a job that's difficult, but not too difficult. I'm playing more music than I did when I was in university, and it's pretty good. Yeah, it's really good now. So I read a book, and this is the bit where I try and remember the title of the book, but I read it ages ago. What was it called? Habits of a Happy Brain. And it was just a very small book, and it was very simple. It told you that you have 4 main brain chemicals going on. You've got your oxytocin, which you get from feeling safe and trusted, and that you can trust people. Your serotonin, which you get from hugs and kisses and lovely stuff like that. You get your cortisol, which is like your stress hormone, and learning that was a bad and a good hormone. And then your endorphins, which are things you get from being excited, being thrilled about things. So I read that book. I'm not much of a reader. I've probably read about 5 books in my life, but knowing that it was helpful, I pursued it. And then I just learned how to switch on each of those chemicals to almost make like this lovely. I didn't measure it, it wasn't something I was measuring the amount of time I was doing each one. But if you understand the things that spark each one, you can restore that balance. Because from what I understand from anxiety, it's just a really high injection of cortisol, the stress hormone. So it's a bit like feeling like you're continuously about to be hit by a car, or see someone get hurt or something like that. You're constantly experiencing that emotion. And the book said that basically she's going to come after me now for telling everything, and nobody's going to read it. But she's told me that if the cortisol is this high and all the others are this high, bring the others up so that the other one has to come down. Very simple things. So endorphins, it was just going for a 10-minute run in the morning, or going to the gym after work, or whatever floats your boat, whatever gets you physical and outside. Just going for a little walk is brilliant. So that was really helpful, just doing those, just going outside basically. I've always been an outdoorsy person. So there was that. There was also then finding, so that would be like your endorphins, for then oxytocin, that feeling of safety. I dialed down the amount of time I was in work and increased the amount of time I was with friends. And funny enough, again, that's not a complex thing either. It's not about going, right, I need 2 hours of intense friendship. It's not. It's just going, rugby's on, you want to go out? Simples. And even introverts could do that, and I know that because I am one. So that was that. And then with serotonin, just, it's not all about having a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever. It's just about having that emotional connection, having that ability to be in deep conversation with people. And that's one that I think men particularly struggle with. I think we have a complete lack of serotonin because we don't think we need it. We think, I'm proud enough. I don't need all that, friendship, love stuff. So it's very simple things, and just finding a balance of all those very simple activities, because I think a lot of people take those things for granted because they don't think it's having an actual effect on what they're doing. So if I was to advise anything to anyone, just learn those brain chemicals and learn how the brain works on a very simple level. Was awesome. To put it very simply, people keep bloody dying. I think that's it. I'm sick of hearing, the extreme rate of 30 to 40-year-old men, or 20 to 40 now, taking their own lives simply because they can't talk, they can't cry, they can't express emotions. It's absolutely ridiculous. It almost takes you back there, almost gets you that upset knowing that is a thing. So I think that's ultimately why I care. And the best part is, and I know that when I usually say that, girls often then end up quite righteously going, what about us? And I'm like, yeah, well, I see this circle, and this is the thing I'm trying to sort of explore within my own sort of activities now. If men are more comfortable expressing their emotions and opening up and crying and talking about the way they feel, not on a really deep level, it can be fairly surface level, but being able to just say, yeah, do you know what, today just sucked a little bit, that's okay. So having the ability to do that actually has a knock-on effect on how women are treated then by men, and in my opinion, domestically. So if men are able to express this, they feel they can actually talk and communicate with words, not violence or things like that. So I think the benefit is completely mutual. So that's where my interest starts. It starts from men being able to understand and appreciate their own mental health, and then the knock-on effect and the positive effect that has on women as well. Well, let's start with the obvious basics. Underfunded. We are in the unfortunate position that, and I don't want to go political because as far as, if you look at my voting history, it's all colours of the rainbow. But we have a lot of people in a position of power who don't understand what it's like to be low, to have a deficit, to experience just like actual life, real life. So how could they want, or I almost understand why they don't fund it. Why would they want to fund something they've never experienced, they've never seen exist? It sort of makes sense actually. Oh God. Yeah, there's not enough support there. I do think that there is too much reliance on drugs, on medication, for something that I think can purely be solved with words and time. But unfortunately, the service we have right now is time poor but medication rich. So they'll go, they'll take these medications that artificially increase these important happiness chemicals, I guess we'll call them. And just like everything else, I'm ill, doctor, give me a pill, thank you, I'm done. They don't want to play the long-term game. They don't want to play the long game. They don't want to make things regular. They want to sort of put a plaster on it, really. So it's underfunded, and I think it's vastly uninformed as well. Definitely uninformed. I've met a lot of voluntary counsellors and people who work in the mental health sector voluntary, because they have to, who I think would just be amazing on an NHS board, and they could say so much brilliant things that the good people who work hard on NHS boards don't have the time to look into. But I do think it's getting better. I do think it's getting better as more things like this happen. Self-help. I think because in a situation we are suffering from bad mental health illnesses, it's very easy to be almost too vulnerable from the point of not being able to help yourself. You're going to go, well, I'm buggered. This is the end for me, sort of thing. So I'd encourage self-help. That can come in the form of, like I said, reading a book. And don't be afraid if you're not a book reader like me. There's some great ones out there, some nice small ones with pictures, which make it easier. I'd start with that. If reading's not your thing, try and take the bad reputation that the internet has for mental health and twist on its head, and go on YouTube and just literally type in, how do brains work? What is cortisol? What is serotonin? How can I program my brain to be happy? It's all there. It's free to access. So I'd say start with that self-help. And if you don't have the impetus or the strength to do that, and I understand that that's going to be a situation as well, go see a counsellor, because it's not weird. I promise you, it's not weird. And the last thing I say is cry, because it's all right. The one thing I always say to people is, as far as what your brain is experiencing, crying and laughing, the brain patterns that are shown are exactly the same. The brain activity is exactly the same. It's the same thing as far as the brain's concerned. And we all feel great when we laugh. So, do the math. So, have a little cry as well. I have a little playlist on my phone. It's just my cry playlist. And I'll just lie there and go, and then I'll feel better afterwards, because it feels like sort of you've gone through a nice emotional bath. So yeah, those three things I think